Hi, this is Alex from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got another book on tape to play for you. Today's book is DuckTales, Welcome to Duckburg for 1987. So let's get started.
This is the story of Welcome to Duckburg. You can read along with me in your book. You will know it is time to turn the page when you hear the chimes ring like this. Let's begin now. One bright morning, Scrooge McDuck was inside his money bin, doing his favorite thing in the world.
There's nothing better than swimming in money and burrowing through it like a gopher and tossing it up and letting it hit me on the head.
He gathered an armful of coins and threw them into the air. Suddenly, he looked at his watch.
Curse me kilts, I'm late.
He grabbed his top hat and raced off toward the waterfront. There, Scrooge found his nephew, Donald Duck, standing beside Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Dewey wiped away a tear.
Why'd you have to go and join the Navy, Uncle Donald? We're gonna miss you so much.
Scrooge glared at Donald.
And what have I done to deserve being stuck with your nephews while you're off seeing the world?
Before Donald could answer, the whistle blew. He hugged the boys and boarded his ship. They waved sadly as he sailed away. A few days later, the boys sat in their room at Scrooge's mansion. Dewey slumped on a small cot.
I knew Uncle Scrooge was an old cheapskate, but I didn't think he'd put us in the attic.
Huey stared out their attic window.
I'm bored. Uncle Scrooge won't let us do a single thing.
Dewey jumped up off the cot.
Then let's follow him to work. I've always wanted to see the inside of his money bin.
When Scrooge walked into his office that morning, he heard footsteps behind him. He wheeled around.
What are you boys doing here?
Dewey shrugged.
We haven't seen you in days, Uncle Scrooge. We missed you.
Well, since you're here, you may as well look around. But don't touch anything.
As the nephews were exploring the money bin, they wandered into a room labeled Museum. Huey spotted something in a corner.
Hey, look at that old wooden model of a ship. Uncle Donald would love it. Maybe Uncle Scrooge will let us send it to him.
But the second they picked up the ship, a loud alarm bell began to clang. Scrooge raced in and snatched the model away from them.
That's a priceless antique. Until further notice, you're grounded.
Across town, Scrooge's dreaded enemies, the Beagle Boys, were sitting in a jail cell. Big-time Beagle turned to his brothers, Burger and Bouncer.
I figured out a new way to get into old McDuck's money bin. But first, we gotta get out of this prison.
A guard came by with a package, and Big Time ripped it open.
It's just candy. Here, Burger, have a bonbon.
The Beagle Boy eagerly bit into one, and it exploded in his mouth. Big Time grabbed the box.
These aren't bonbons, they're boom booms.
Big Time read a note inside the package.
Use these to escape. Then meet me tonight at the Orange Theater. It's signed El Capitan. Well, I don't know who this El Capitan guy is, but I sure like his style.
The Beagle Boys stuffed the explosives into the cracks around their cell window. Big Time lit the fuses and jumped back. There was a deafening blast, sending rocks and mortar flying. The Beagle Boys were free. That night, they broke into the abandoned El Orange Theater. Suddenly, a mysterious figure stepped from the shadows.
Here, caballeros. No doubt you wonder why I helped you escape. You're all experts on McDuck's money bin, and I want you to steal something from it.
Big Time grinned at his brothers.
You're looking for cash, right?
No, you fool. Something much more valuable.
Back at Scrooge's mansion, the nephews were sitting on their cots. Huey sailed a paper plane across the room.
We can't seem to do anything right. Maybe we should pack our bags and go someplace where we're wanted.
Louie nodded and pulled their suitcases out from under the bed. Dewey packed, shaking his head sadly.
Uncle Scrooge is always so busy, he probably won't even miss us.
As the nephews were dragging their suitcases past Scrooge's money bin, Dewey suddenly stopped and pointed.
The front door's open. Maybe something's wrong.
They sneaked into the dark building. Ahead, they saw 3 brawny figures with flashlights and a map. Huey started to back away.
The Beagle Boys. We've got to get help.
But Big Time had already spotted them.
It's some kids. Grab 'em, boys.
Huey ducked around a corner with his brothers right behind him.
Upstairs. I've got an idea.
They raced into the museum with the Beagle Boys in pursuit. Huey grabbed the wooden ship from its stand, and once again the alarm began to ring. Big Time dropped his map and lunged toward Huey.
That's the boat we came for. You kids outsmarted yourselves. We'll be long gone before anyone answers that bell.
At the mansion, the alarm jolted Scrooge out of bed. He raced off to the money bin and discovered his 3 nephews locked inside. Dewey grabbed his arm.
Uncle Scrooge, you were just robbed by the Beagle Boys.
But when Scrooge examined the building, not a single coin was missing, just the antique boat.
As I recall, the only thieves interested in that boat were you 3. While I'm working at my candy factory tomorrow, you'll be off to boarding school.
That night, the boys couldn't sleep. Huey peered at the map Big Time Beagle had dropped.
Uncle Scrooge wouldn't even look at this. Hey, you guys, this map's drawn on the back of an old flyer for the El Orange Theater, but that place has been closed for years.
Dewey snapped his fingers.
It must be the Beagle Boys' hideout. If we get the ship back, that'll prove we're telling the truth.
They grabbed their junior woodchuck hats and hurried outside. Soon, the boys were hiding in the theater wings. They saw a man in a trench coat arguing with the Beagles.
I freed you from prison. Now you must give me the ship. That was our bargain.
Big Time held the wooden model away from him.
Not so fast, El Capitan. We want half of whatever this boat is worth. Otherwise, I burn it.
He struck a match and held it under the ship. El Capitan jumped to his feet.
All right, you've got a deal.
Dewey nudged his brothers.
When I give the signal, grab the ship and get out of here.
Dewey untied a rope that disappeared into the shadows high overhead. When he did, a heavy sandbag fell from the darkness and crashed between El Capitan and the Beagle Boys. In the confusion, the nephews grabbed the boat and sprinted for the back door. El Capitan leaped into their path, his eyes blazing.
Give me the ship, niños, or I'll play castanets on your little heads.
The boys froze. Before they could react, Big Time rushed at them and tossed a canvas tarp over their heads like a net.
Bravo! A perfect catch.
As the Beagle Boys were congratulating themselves, the tarp settled flat to the floor. El Capitan rushed over and jerked the canvas aside.
There's a trapdoor here. Those little thieves have escaped. After them, you barnacles.
The Beagle Boys chased the nephews onto the roof. Holding the ship, Huey ran to the edge.
Look next door. It's Uncle Scrooge's candy factory.
He stepped out onto some wires leading to the building. Louie and Dewey followed close behind him. Big Time stopped at the roof edge.
They think they're pretty smart, but I'm smarter.
He took hold of the wire and ripped it loose. As it fell, the 3 boys grabbed onto the end and swung through the windows of Scrooge's factory. The boys plopped safely into a huge vat of marshmallow cream. Dewey looked up.
Uncle Scrooge, you're here.
Scrooge glared at his nephews.
What's all this commotion?
A second later, the Beagle Boys came crashing through the windows. Big Time raced toward Huey.
Give me that, you brat.
Before the Beagle Boy could grab it, Huey thrust something into Scrooge's hands. Scrooge stared at it.
The ship? Oh, you lads were telling the truth.
With Big Time almost upon them, Scrooge pushed his nephews.
Get out of here, boys. I've dealt with these Beagle bums before.
All 3 boys stopped, and Dewey looked Scrooge in the eye.
No, sir, Uncle Scrooge. We're all in
Scrooge hesitated, then smiled.
Good lads. Now watch this.
He pulled a lever, and thousands of gumballs spilled out of a giant machine, tripping the Beagle Boys. While they were slipping and sliding across the floor, Scrooge jumped out on a high platform and held up the ship.
Yoo-hoo! Jail jerks! I have not yet begun to fight.
The Beagle Boys were back on their feet. As Big Time looked for a way to reach the platform, Scrooge gave a signal. Huey, Dewey, and Louie jerked on a rope. A hopper overhead sprang open, and tons of sugar poured out, burying the Beagles. Coughing and sputtering, the Beagle Boys dug their way to the top. Burger saw Scrooge first and chased him down an aisle, but Dewey was ready. Using a strand of taffy like a giant slingshot, he fired a pie right into Burger's face. Scrooge chuckled.
Great shooting, Dewey. The Junior Woodchuck should give you a merit badge for marksmanship.
Then he pulled the lever, and a trap door opened under Bouncer's feet, dropping him into a huge vat of sticky caramel. In another part of the factory, Huey looked for the third Beagle Boy. Suddenly, he felt someone grabbing him from behind. Big Time held up Huey and grinned at Scrooge.
Hey, McDuck, look what I got. Give me the boat now, or else.
Thinking fast, Scrooge turned to his other nephews.
Don't give up the ship, boys. We're not through yet.
He told them what to do, and they ran off. Scrooge held up the model.
All right, Big Time. It's a deal. We're releasing the others. Just don't hurt my nephew.
Big Time dropped Huey and grabbed the ship.
It's a pleasure doing business with you, McDuck.
Scrooge pulled Huey toward him and gave a signal. High above them, Louie pulled a lever and a gigantic vat began to tip. Before the startled Big Time could move out of the way, he was swamped in gallons of liquid chocolate. The chocolate instantly froze solid. Scrooge eyed the trapped burglar happily.
Now that's what I call sweet revenge.
The old zillionaire turned to his nephews.
I should have trusted you boys, but I'll make it up to you. I know. I'll move you from the attic to the garage.
Huey, Dewey, and Louie threw their arms around him, and Scrooge hugged them tightly.
We make a great team, don't we, lads? Ach, what a family.
Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur. Might solve a mystery, or rewrite history. Ducktales, woo! Every day they're out there making ducktales, woo! Tales of daring, do bad, and good luck tales, woo! Danger, watch behind you. There's a stranger out to find you. What to do? Just grab onto some ducktales. Woo! Every day they're out there making ducktales. Woo! Tales of daring, do bad, and good luck tales. Woo! Not ponytails or cottontails, no ducktales. Woo! DuckTales, woo! Every day they're out there making DuckTales, woo! Tales of daring, do bad, and good luck tales, woo! Not ponytails or cottontails, no DuckTales, woo!
That was the end of the story. If you would like to hear it again, turn the tape over.
So, that was DuckTales. Welcome to Duckburg for 1987. So, if you like, subscribe, share, and comment, and have a groovy day. We'll have another video coming out real soon.